Hello and welcome to World of Tanks with Trapsikis. We're having a look at one of my YouTube subscriber, Nanasa. I hope I've got the pronunciation right there. Playing in the Type 4 Heavy. Now, firstly, a word on interface. I do not recommend playing with a minimap this small. I don't know if it's a replay bug or this is the way that he played. But by all means, press the plus button on the right hand side of your keyboard to improve the size of your minimap. This is a bit too small to be useful. Now, have a look at the loadout. Everyone knows about the Type 4 Heavy's massive derp gun, but Nanasa decided not to use it. He's running 55 standard armor-piercing shells and 5 HE shells on the normal gun, not the derp gun, which is relatively odd, seeing as most people would be using the derpy gun. But this changes the Type 4 Heavy from the monster derp to more of a normal heavy. It's still a super heavy, but your damage is much more reliable. You've got more or less 600 damage per shot. Whereas with the HE, it's really hit or miss. You can do over 1,000 damage, or you can do a couple of hundred damage. It's much more variable. Right, so he tries to get a shot at the T-49 there. Unfortunately, not even this caliber can shoot through those rocks, so he'll have to move on. I'm going to do a lot of speeding up in this video because the Type 4 Heavy is not fun to watch driving. Now, immediately, the friendlies lose the Lorraine 40T, and I believe he overextended and got punished for it. And also, what I do in most replays, if you've watched my replays before, I don't use free move. I let the player move the mouse so that you can see exactly where they're aiming and what they're thinking. And already 2 or 3 times, and you'll see quite a few more times, Nanasa has proven himself to be a very polite player. He checks his tracks, he checks his friendlies' tracks so that he doesn't accidentally nudge his friendlies. A couple of times he's stopped to let them move. So he's a very, very nice player. Someone very, very decent to work with. Unfortunately, he's blocking the T10 there, but I believe the Type 4 Heavy gets preference because of the bigger caliber and the better armor. So T10 will just have to wait his turn to be able to get a gap into this hot gate. Right, so finally, first shot that damages. A bit of a low roll on the WZ there, but it's a very decent amount of damage, putting the WZ below half health, so he's now effectively a one-shot for the NASA's Type 4 Heavy. Already nearly 600 blocked and just over 100 hit points taken. So there we go, nice bounce, and he shuts down the big troll WZ fake tank. Okay, so another note, the update recently added the progress indicators for the different missions, which I really appreciate, because while in game you can keep an eye on what exactly is happening with the missions you're looking at, and you don't have to try to remember how much damage you've done or how much you've done to which kind of class or whatever the case may be. Quite lucky that that one goes in, because you only had the sliver at the top of the hull of the Type 4 Heavy there, but now also bringing the enemy Type 4 down to a one-shot, forcing him to be a bit more careful. Right, a bit lucky there, the OHO didn't do any damage. Unfortunately, the 705 there took quite a bit of damage from the OHO's explosive shell. And you'll notice that Nanasa's repair kit is on cooldown pretty much all of this map. So, unfortunately that one misses. It might be a good idea to train your crew to be firefighters and then forego the automatic fire extinguisher, because this tank does tend to get tracked a lot. It's already quite slow, but when tracked, it doesn't move at all. Very decent shot into the SM there. And now notice the communication that Nanasa performs with his team. Bear in mind, 2 versus 5 kills, the team is already in big trouble. So something magic is going to happen here for this team to be able to win. Right, unfortunately the OHO shuts down the mutant there. And Nanasa, knowing his tank well, knows exactly where to aim on the enemy Type 4 to shut him down. Right, the OHO unfortunately does some damage there and takes out the tracks again. But nanasa using the friendly mutant's corpse very effectively to provide cover. Alright, so who's he going to go for now? Puts in a decent hit. Unfortunately, low roll on the IS-3, and the IS-3 survives. Very lucky there. If it was any less of a low roll, he would have died with those 15 hit points to go. Right, so nanasa takes another big shot from the Oho, and now we're in real trouble. 4 versus 8 kills. We've lost the north. There goes the 30. We've lost the center. It's only this little corner that's still holding on. IS-3 is still healthy, so he may be able to use his speed to go back and help the IS-3 in the middle. However, nanasa asks for help on the SN and gets it. So now 5 versus 9, looking a little bit better, but still in big trouble. Now the T10 takes a massive hit there, I believe, from the Oho. Right, so nanasa shuts down the enemy Oho, the friendly IS-3 shuts down the IS-3. Now we need to run back to base and protect RT. So 7 versus 9 doesn't look that bad, but if you look at the tiers, there's one extra tier 9 on the friendly team, so it's relatively well balanced. However, if you look at the map, the north is lost, the west we're not contending, and the center is lost. So with regards to the number of tanks, it's not looking that bad. With regards to the map, we've lost a lot of position, and that's a very nice shot to put into the Type 61. Only about half of the tank was visible above that roof line, and still managed to find its mark, so very nice. Now we've got trouble. We've lost the Aufpanzer, which was the last remaining TD on our friendly team, but nanasa wisely uses the city to provide cover, because the sides of the Type pool, while well armored, is not impenetrable. Unfortunately, that one does not find the mark. Maybe another second of aiming would have helped. But nanasa doesn't rush the Carnarvon because he knows there is support. And for some reason it looks like the Progetto is shooting HE, which is something that personally I wouldn't even load on the Progetto, but okay, there we go. And nanasa fully aims in on the turret. Takes a very decent shot. Progetto now one shot. The Carnarvon a one shot. The Type 61 a bit beyond the range of a one shot. So unfortunately only 2 allies remain, while 7 enemies remain. So this is a bit of a difficult position to be in. He doesn't have the speed to really relocate, so the enemies know exactly where he is. He needs to use the terrain and the buildings to cover his sides and avoid taking damage. Right, so he knows the Carnarvon is near. He doesn't know where the 257 is, and the Scorp is probably sitting in a bush waiting for an opportunity to take some hit points off of nanasa's tank. So he knows if he pushes forward, he's going to expose his side. Fortunately, the Progetto out in the open there gets shuts down. Right, nanasa wisely going for the ram, and I was ready on the reload for the artillery, which is a bit odd to be joining us here. But alright, I think he's desperate to get the last kill, and unfortunately for him, nanasa was ready. Right, now the IS-3 is eliminated. So we've got the enemy 257, but he's on a very healthy amount of hit points. So nanasa has some trouble here, and now he's caught off guard. His rear is pointing to where the 257 is expected to be. Now he wisely uses the enemy hulls to cover his rear, and he takes a decent amount of hit points off the 257, but now he needs to be careful. So he's using the front of his turret and the rear of his hull as armor. That's still quite effective, but he needs to be careful not to expose too much of his rear and allow the 257 to aim. Unfortunately, the tank traverse of the Type 4 Heavy is not very fast. But a very decent game there, and I'm very glad that not only did he not load any premium shells, but he also showed us the use of the alternative gun, or the original gun I believe, not the top gun, which personally I feel is a very nice thing to do with the Type 4. It makes it more of a normal tank, if you know what I mean. Right, so let me just quickly have a look if I can find the post-game plates, and then you can chat a bit about that. So, obviously Nanasa, one of my YouTube subscribers, thank you very much for sending this one in. And let's have a look. This was an ace tanker. Sorry guys, I should have prepared this beforehand. On the team details, you can see he's by a massive margin in the lead, nearly 1,000 base experience. On the statistics, you'll see it's an ace tanker, high caliber, and top gun, not surprisingly. With the personal details here, 6,500 damage done, nearly 2,500 blocked, and of the 14 shells that he hit, 13 penetrated. Bearing in mind that these were all standard shells, he didn't fire a single premium shell or a single HE shell. So that requires quite a bit of skill. If you're facing heavies head to head, and they're the same tier as your tank, it takes quite a bit of skill to know exactly where to hit each of them. So do yourself a favor, do some research on the enemies that you're likely to face with a particular tank, and know where their weak points are so that you can perform like Nanasa did here. Sorry you didn't get the win, but congratulations on the high caliber and top gun. Thank you very much for sending this in, and thank you for watching.